AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Rashaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way to have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Thank you for joining me tonight. It is Jeanne Ives. We are broadcasting live from our studios here in Elk Grove Village. I want to thank ahead of time my producer, Paul, for helping me out with this show. It's been a big day for members of the conservative movement, and that's because hundreds of thousands of people showed up to memorialize Charlie Kirk in Arizona, but not just in Arizona. The Kansas City Chiefs opened up their station to fans who wanted to watch it on the big jumbotrons. Right now, as we speak, there is a memorial service going on in Wheaton. If you want to hustle over there and catch my show as a podcast, that's fine with me, because Charlie Kirk was an important figure and he's not going away. But the left would like that to happen, of course, and they're wondering, is the assassination of Charlie Kirk a tipping point? Let's be honest. The left is desperately trying to ensure that it isn't for their side, that their side doesn't get tipped over in this. They're hoping his murder isn't a real turning point in America. They're hoping people don't start to evaluate the culture and realize that the left has been feeding children, young adults, and even boomers progressive nonsense that debases society and breaks the social and constitutional contract that citizens, especially citizens of the United States, living in a free society, should have with each other. That's a contract that is literally woven into our laws. And the social contract means we have public debates about the use of public goods and that we respect personal property rights and truth. But the left doesn't want to have honest debates anymore. They refuse to learn anything about important matters of public policy. And those matters of public policy go into all sorts of areas, from whether or not I should have to pay off somebody else's student loan debt, where life begins. Does it begin at conception? We should have those discussions. Of course, the truth is it does, and every scientist would agree to that. The left wants to debate whether men should compete with women's sports. Well, let's have that debate. The left doesn't want it. And in fact, they've been revealed for the haters that they are. So many people have been bought into so many stupid ideas by politicians who promise things that they don't have the right to promise. And that's where we are right now. And the left is coming unhinged, literally unhinged, because the Charlie Kirk murder, the political assassination of somebody who is as monumental of Charlie Kirk, is reaching across the United States and overseas as well. Well, Trump had something to say. In fact, at the memorial service that went on for about 5 hours, and Trump's own speech went on for a little over 45 minutes, he had something to say about the haters and he said this at Kirk's memorial. Take a listen here.
Over the last 11 days, we have heard stories of commentators, influencers, and others in our society who greeted his assassination with sick approval, excuses, or even jubilation. You've heard that. So have I. Couldn't believe it. Some of the very same people who spent the last 8 years trying to sit in moral judgment of anyone who disagreed with them about politics suddenly started cheering for a murder. Incredible. You know the names. They're major losers, by the way. That will be proven out in a short period of time. Some of the very people who call you a hater for using the wrong pronoun were filled with glee at the killing of a father with two beautiful young children. And the same commentators who this week are screaming fascism over a canceled late-night TV show where the anchor had no talent and no ratings, last week were implying that Charlie Kirk deserved what happened to him. No side in American politics has a monopoly on disturbed or misguided people. But there's one part of our political community which believes they have a monopoly on truth, goodness, and virtue, and concludes they have also a monopoly on power, thought, and speech. Well, that's not happening anymore. We've turned that corner very quickly. Tragically, atrocities of this kind, and kind that we saw in Utah, of all places, are the eventual consequence of that kind of thinking. If speech is violence, then some are bound to conclude that violence is justified to stop speech.
Well, isn't that true? And that's exactly what happened because the left has been chanting that Trump's a fascist, chanting that what they're saying is not true. And that's probably gets really to the heart of the matter, because these truths that Charlie was speaking about are considered untruths by the left because they don't want to hear it. And so in perpetrating the untruths, they in effect helped kill Charlie Kirk. So it's our responsibility as conservatives and just normal people who do care about the truth to make sure that we debunk the untruths that are now being said about Charlie Kirk. And so there's quite a few people that are doing that. I posted one of them. I've posted 3 of them on my own Facebook. You can go there and look at them. I don't have a private Facebook. I have a public Facebook for my personal account. But you can just Google them and find them on your own. Importantly, Trump wasn't the only one to speak at Charlie's funeral. He had a plethora of great people from the administration speaking on him. He was greeted, according to Breitbart, with cheers of USA. J.D. Vance said, "I have talked more about Jesus Christ in the past 2 weeks than my entire time in public life." Don Jr. Said his relationship noted that Kirk's relationship with Jesus was the most important thing to him. Tulsi Gabbard said everyone needs to be a warrior like Charlie. Stephen Miller said the forces of evil made Charlie Kirk immortal. Marco Rubio said Charlie Kirk had an uncanny amount of wisdom. Tucker Carlson said Charlie Kirk was doing the thing that the people in charge hate the most, calling for them to repent. And, there were a number of other speakers as well. Ben Carson, Susie Wiles, RFK Jr. gave a great speech saying that Charlie gave the biggest microphone to his opponents, noting that Charlie was not afraid to hear from the others. He was willing to debate them openly. We're going to cover this. In fact, I want to hear from people who wonder how do we go forward from here. So we're going to break a little bit early so I can get my next guest on. That is Pastor Lorenzo Sewell. He's the Detroit pastor who spoke at Trump's inauguration. We'll be right back with The Real Story. This is Jeanne Ives.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hut, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting outside, getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pains, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your life. Head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4RELIEF and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. Relief Factor is the daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by a team of doctors, it uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask the pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take Relief Factor, the more effective it is to get your days going without any pain. See if we can get you out of pain by taking their 3-week quick start. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Simply call 800-4RELIEF. 800, the number 4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, neck, shoulders, hips, knees, don't let it keep you from living the life you want to live. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4-RELIEF.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings, engineered to protect, finished to impress.
We now return to The Real Story. Here's your host, Jeanne Ives.
Welcome back. This is The Real Story. The phone number here is 312-642-5600. I'll take some calls after the bottom of the hour break because right now I have a really important guest that I want to have on. Before I bring him on, though, you heard the Trump clip that I played in the last segment. This is a continuation of that clip, and I think this is really important that Trump said this.
If speech is violence, then some are bound to conclude that violence is justified to stop speech. And we're not going to let that be justified. The tradition of reason and open debate that Charlie practiced is not a pillar of our democracy. In many ways, it's the basis of our entire society. It's the right and inheritance of every free American, the greatest legacy of the Enlightenment, and among the most treasured achievements of civilization. We will defend it at all costs, and we will carry forward the torch of liberty that Charlie Kirk held so proud and so high. He was so proud, and he did hold that torch high. We will never, ever let it fail. We will never let it fail. But we're going to raise it higher than ever before. It's going to be raised, and this is the beginning. Perhaps it should be no surprise that Charlie, who spent his life speaking with the critics of these traditions, ultimately became convinced that we needed not just a political realignment, but also a spiritual reawakening. We did. And we have to bring back religion to America, because without borders, law and order, and religion, you really don't have a country anymore. We want religion brought back to America. We want to bring God back into our beautiful USA like never before. We want God back. Over the last 11 days, Charlie would have been so pleased to hear his friends and colleagues today giving testimony and giving glory to God. Within minutes of the gunshot in Utah, millions of Americans, young and old, heard the news and dropped to their knees and started praying. Even many who rarely prayed asked God for a miracle. Please, God, save Charlie.
So there you go. And to comment on that, I have Pastor Sewell here. He's the pastor and community leader serving as a senior pastor of the 180 Church in Detroit. In his bio, he says his journey began as a profound spiritual transformation in 1999, which led him to dedicate his life to ministry and community service through God's grace. He says he has the privilege of growing our congregation and implementing impactful community initiatives throughout Detroit. Pastor Sewell, thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story.
I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so Holy Ghost happy. This is such a momentous occasion. Thank you so much for having me.
So what about that? We need to bring back religion. We need to bring back God. When you hear that from President Trump, do you think it's going to make an impact on communities across the country, or what more needs to be done?
When you have the commander-in-chief saying to the entire nation that we need to bring back religion, it reminds me of the days of King Solomon, who had the wisdom, the foresight, and the hindsight to say, if my people that are called by my name, if we humble ourselves and pray, if we seek his face and turn from our wicked ways, and he would hear from heaven, forgive our sin, and heal our land. Solomon had that insight. So it is the president is lining up with that prophetic voice that causes all Americans to pray. Regardless of your political affiliation, we all realize that we need God's help.
Well, it is interesting, and J.D. Vance, giving remarks today at the memorial service, mentioned that he's never talked about Jesus Christ more in his public life than he has in the last week. Are we going to see more of this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, look at my life, right?
Yep.
I was able to preach at the RNC because of a president that, quite frankly, allowed me to be myself. You had never seen in the history of America, in the cadence of his candidacy, so many opportunities for people like me to, quite frankly, preach the gospel. People like Charlie Kirk share the gospel. And that's how we know that America is, quite frankly, in the middle of a turning point.
Okay. So did Charlie Kirk, was he an influence on you at all?
Well, I never heard Charlie Kirk's name until the president came to my church. And quite frankly, until I was at the RNC, I didn't really know who he was. He spoke to me about he spoke to me about coming on his show, and when I came on his show, that's when he invited me to the Believer Summit, and I became a featured speaker at several of his events. And I was actually in the green room waiting for him at a conference that he and I were scheduled to speak at when he was shot.
Oh my goodness! Wow. So wow, that's just remarkable. So I mean, so how do faith leaders now? How do they reach their people? How do you? Is there a new energy because of Charlie Kirk? Does your congregation understand who he was and what he stood for?
Well, you know, we are in a context where a person like Charlie Kirk, his name wouldn't be mentioned. We're in Detroit. However, when the president came to my church and then my relationship with Charlie Kirk raised an awareness of his apologetic ministry, his political ministry, and now we were able as a people to enjoy the fruit of his labor. And he opened up so many doors for me. Today, I use him as an analogy while I was preaching, and every faith leader have an opportunity right now to use Charlie's death as bait, so to speak, to catch so many fish that would never come into the kingdom of Christ.
Well, that's what you're called to be, a fisher of men, according to the Bible. Now,
Absolutely.
how did Trump end up being, invited to your church and talking to your people? How did that all happen?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. President Trump, he asked to come into my church. A Republican had not come into Detroit since Reagan, and there was no president ever that actually came to sit and actually hear the people. And we've never seen that from any president on either side of the aisle, let alone a Republican. And he came. Not only did he come, he listened. And not only did he listen, also what the president did was he told me that I would pray at the inauguration.
So, I mean, well, you did a remarkable job. And I think, you just gained a whole new audience by having that sort of platform and that profile. Has it grown your church, or has it hurt you being aligned with President Trump?
That's a good question. You know, when President Trump came to my church, I didn't know how hated he was in our community, but I understand it because there has been so much rhetoric, so many lies, quite frankly, that have been told to Black Americans. And this is why, because Black Americans have become an easy target for propaganda. A lot of it's because of illiteracy. A lot of it's because people repeat without researching, and we fight against that. So we hold a political event at our church every Friday and every Sunday since President Trump has come, called Souls to the Polls, where we debunk all of the things that the Democratic Party has said against our president. And we were talking about Charlie Kirk and how the Democratic Party has used this assassination, this martyrdom, so to speak, as a political moment to tell Black people he was racist. So it has grown our church. Over 10 countries have come to our church, and we've had people who typically would be Democrats. They have now come off the Democrat plantation and become Republicans.
That's amazing. I want to turn, though, to another thing, because faith leaders sit at the intersection of public policy and the people that the public policy is supposed to serve. And you well understand what may work and may not work. First of all, we had this just foolish thing happen in the state of Illinois. This week, we found out that Governor Pritzker actually stood next to a quote unquote peacekeeper who just days later was arrested for murder. And he was actually part of an organization called FLIP, which is Flatlining Violence to Inspire Peace. And that organization, of course, is taxpayer funded. It's supposed to do violence prevention. They obviously don't. And you've just got this, an overabundance of violence prevention grants, over $100 million in the state of Illinois going to NGOs, and it doesn't seem to be working. And then you've got literally Governor Pritzker standing next to a guy who was wanted in 4 other states, and then days later murders somebody. Now, what about this? I mean, what about these violence prevention grants? What about all of this stuff? What policies, I guess, is my question. If you were governor, what programs would you advocate for that actually work?
This is a very good question. Number one, there should be no resources given to these community groups, because why do you have a police budget, right? Mm-hmm. There's no community group that can stop crime, right? They have no ability to stop crime. What we say is the greatest funder of crime is poverty. So if Chicago would do what it should with its HUD budget, and I can just give you some quick numbers.
Sure.
Chicago has a $2 billion HUD budget. I want you to think about that number. $2 billion. That's what the beat. If they were to take that, right? If they were to take community group that can Trump, right? They have no ability. If they took that HUD prevention, if they took the provisions in HUD, which says this in Section 3, it says that 25% of the resources that come from HUD. So in this case, $2 billion, 25% is $500 million. HUD would have the ability, or Chicago would have the ability to make 500 millionaires.
Wow, that's
those
numbers are true. I don't know why we're not doing that.
Let me really explain it, because I want everyone to understand when Dr. King was assassinated, the legislation of HUD was enacted. And what our leaders had, the foresight our leaders had is this: if you're on public housing, right? If you are on public housing, then you qualify for something called Section 3 business. And a Section 3 business says, because you're on public housing, what we're going to do for you is this: we're going to contract with you in terms of clerical work. We're going to contract with you in terms of skilled trades to make sure that you can come off of government assistance. And if Chicago did that, trust me, there would be no more crime in Chicago. I know men that come from Chicago to Detroit. I see the murders. I see the mindset. And I also see rappers that are in Chicago in terms of the violence saying they'll do anything to be able to protect the children. So the governor is just out of touch. He's out of touch with Chicagoans. He's out of touch with what he really could do to begin to make Chicago great again.
So it does go back to really making sure these kids have a better education. You know, they don't have to be PhDs or anything like that. Making sure that they have a career path that will take them out of poverty and be able to afford to live on their own without government assistance. and essentially getting them on that path. I mean, that is fundamental. You know, we don't talk about fathers in the homes, though, much here. You can't say that as the white woman in the suburbs. I got denigrated in 2018 when I ran for governor for making that remark. But I think that's part of the conversation.
Well, we know that fatherlessness is an epidemic, and there's not one father I know in the hood that's not with his children, that doesn't want to be with his children. And typically what happens is broken relationships, number one. And then number two is mismanagement of resources of government funds. If the governor or your mayor, if they would just manage the resources rightly, men will come back into homes.
Hey, Pastor, we've got to take it. We got a hard break. I want to just let everybody know that I'm going to be with Pastor Sewell and John Anthony October 2nd. You can get tickets to that event. It's in Glen Ellen. Go to AM 560 Conversation to order your tickets now. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you. We'll be right back.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio, every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdecast Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
News, I'm Carmen Roberts. Hundreds of thousands gathered to remember slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
On that terrible day, September 10th, 2025, our greatest evangelist for American liberty became immortal.
President Trump speaking to an Arizona football stadium packed full of people who traveled from across the country for the service. Donald Trump Jr. called on Americans to turn Kirk's death into a bigger movement.
His legacy must be that when they took his life, 1 million more Charlies stepped up to fill the void.
And speaking through her tears, Kirk's widow, Erica, says she forgives the killer. And Britain, Australia, Canada, and Portugal now recognize a Palestinian state. America's listening to Fox News.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneinc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal locally.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
Unreadable, inconsistent part marking is more than a nuisance. It's a liability. When your part marks fade, your quality and credibility also fade. GT Schmidt helps manufacturers leave a permanent mark on their products. Laser, dot peen, scribe, and roll marking systems. Our machines engrave everything from serial numbers, date codes, certification marks, barcodes, 2D matrices, and logos on metal, plastic, anodized coatings, and more. GT Schmidt laser systems provide high speed, versatility, and durability with non-contact precision. Harsh environment, rugged parts? GT Schmidt pin markers produce deep, reliable marks. Parts small or large, flat or round, we engineer systems to your specific application. GT Schmidt, the name for dependable part identification and traceability, setting the standards since 1895. Right now, save 10% off standard GeoMark Pro lasers and standard Styliner pin markers. Visit gtschmidt.com for the marking machine that's right for you. Made in the USA. GT Schmidt, your mark made to last.
Can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Ugh, me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's SPECTRIOS.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining me this Sunday night. There's always a lot going on in the state of Illinois. We're going to continue sort of on this conversation, though, with Charlie Kirk. I've got a guest coming up who's about that same age. Want to get his feedback from that generation. But before we get to him, we're going to go to David, located in California. He's on the phone with me. Welcome to the program, David. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Jeanne. Yeah, it was an interesting interview you did with the pastor there.
Thank you.
Kind of reminded me. Yeah, it reminded me. I had a grandfather who was a state legislator in Missouri in 1902. And he was a Republican. And at the time, the Republicans were really torn apart. The small business Republicans were being crushed by Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan and all of the biggest industrialists. So the small business Republicans were having a heck of a time fighting the corporate types. And I heard you using the phrase, the social contract, and that reminded me, right at that same time, there was the famous King Leopold. Are you familiar with him?
Sure. And, ostensibly what he did in the Congo, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. He took over this section of Africa, and he pretended that he wasn't, he was the king of Belgium, but he took over a section of Africa, and he claimed that what he took over was his private estate, and it was not to be, nobody in that section were given laws under the nation of Belgium. So no laws abided. He was the sole authority. And so he cut off hands if they didn't produce, if they didn't, go out and get gold for him or do mining or anything else. And so the corporate state, he basically created a corporation of himself. And even though he was a monarch in another part of the world, his corporation owned everything in that area. And Mussolini, the dictator of Italy at the time, a little bit later, was so jealous of King Leopold that he created a treatise on the corporate state. And Hitler, of course, took that, and it became fascism. And so where I'm going with this, America, 250 years ago, we have taxation with representation. That we, the people, own this country. And we pay taxes and we chip in to make sure that our property is wisely managed. And the corporations now don't want to pay taxes, but they want to run the show. So they want representation without taxation. And so I think that's really where America is at right now. A lot of these politicians are bowing down to the corporations that are giving them table scraps, and the people are getting pretty much nothing and being told that they have to just obey some stupid king. And,
well, David,
we don't need no kings here.
Yeah, no, David, thank you for your analysis here. I mean, I do appreciate it. Certainly, people are free to read King Leopold's Ghost. That's sort of a definitive story about what happened there. Although some people say that entire that entire book is not necessarily true to form. So and from that book came the Heart of Darkness movie. So that was also about essentially breaking the social contract, the slavery that went on, the pillaging that went on. And it's a fascinating read. I do encourage people to read it if you want just a sense of the history there. Obviously, that entire story then led eventually to the genocide, the Rwandan genocide. So these things have 100-year generational impacts when you treat people poorly, and it's remembered generation to generation. So you're right. We need to get back to a social contract. I just tell you, I'm sorry, I'm not paying off anybody's student loan. I don't want to pay off your student loan. I don't want to pay off your debt. I don't want to do anything like that. You're breaking the social contract when you do that. Force me to do that. But David, thanks a lot for your call. We're going to get right to my caller now. You know him. You've heard him before. Garrett Ziegler. He wrote the definitive book on Hunter Biden's laptop, and he's got his own website, Marco Polo. And Garrett, I just wanted to have you on because you're very close in age to Charlie Kirk, and this is kind of your generational fight that's going to go on. And I just wanted to get your initial thoughts about, first of all, him being murdered, politically assassinated, and then also what do you think is happening in the aftermath?
Yes, thank you for having me on. I wish it were under better circumstances. I have, so many people who knew Charlie better than me have done sort of personal videos in the past 2 weeks, and I didn't know him well. I was on his show. I went back and looked 4 times of the past 3 years, and I sent his crew, just like I sent yours, a whole box of books, and he had the dossier on his desk for the better part of 2 years to deal with the 46th president, and he loathed the 46th president. And there's just so much to say. First of all, it feels like a gut punch. I was thinking before this interview tonight, Jeanne, that you have a lot in common with Charlie, not just our geographical proximity, but one of the things that most people don't realize is that Charlie's starting of TPUSA was in part a response to the DEI practices of West Point.
Good point.
He didn't
put that together. Yes.
Yeah, he was an Eagle Scout, and he was furious that, and of course, some of this has to do with our terrible U.S. senators because they have a role in recommending which 2 people, from each state get in. You can have appointments, and of course, he wasn't going to get one from Dick Durbin, one of the most corrupt politicos in Illinois history. Mm-hmm. But all of this, God used the sinfulness of DEI and wokeism to create this thing even more beautiful. We never know the counterfactual, but I would submit that Charlie was more useful to God's purposes doing activism, and activism in the best sense, what the founders did, not Barack Obama on the South Side by the University of Chicago, driving up racial grievances, some of which were legitimate, but activism in that getting people off their bum. He had an ability to drive people to action that is not a given. There are lots of smart people out there that do not have the organizing ability. I called in very quickly last week to praise his organizational mind. One thing the right and this goes right to his legacy, Jeanne. One thing I want to carry on that he did well, that we must do to defeat Marxism in the United States long term, is have our ducks in a row. And it is very difficult to build an organization as big as Charlie did. And that is because he had a very, very high energy level, and he cared about the details. I love Donald Trump a lot, but one thing that Trump has to get better on in this second term, and he was the first to admit it about his first term, is that he's got to get better at the details of the agencies, both in who he hires. And by the way, this isn't just some random person calling in. I saw this. Part of Peter Navarro's first two books about the first Trump term was the lack of presidential oversight of the personnel decisions. And I respect Charlie because he really got in the weeds on things, and he knew how to build an organization. And Marxism is a tumor on the American body politic, and we had disagreements on tariffs, but those pale in comparison to the tumor that is Marxism. And so I don't grieve like those who knew him well, but I also don't grieve without hope. One of the scriptures that is the best comfort for Christians at this time is that there's hopelessness, and then there's grieving with hope. And as Ecclesiastes says, there will be times of sadness. There is true grief here. That video of the bullet going through his neck will be online forever. And the blood was profuse. It was protruding. It was disgusting. It was like the Zapruder film in 2025. And that's very difficult. And I'm not minimizing that. At the same time, Paul said that we grieve unlike those without hope. So once you're a Christian, everything has an eternal perspective. And so I'm talking about Charlie right now in a way that is, in my mind, having a longing for eternity, that this is not the end, of his being. You and I believe that. And the best possible thing that could come from this, in my opinion, is a 1-2 punch. Number one is having a mass repentance and believing of the gospel in the United States writ large. That's the best legacy Charlie could leave for the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois is a total wreck. Number one. Number two, the most important thing is defeating Marxism. And the only way you defeat the Marxist tumor that we have right now, fueled by and funded by Soros, is to organize better and to get our people out. And so that's the 1-2 punch. And I call upon everybody to study deeply what he did in terms of building up that organization, because we can learn a lot from that. And that's how you honor his legacy. That's how everybody listening to this now and in 6 months when you're on YouTube listening to this, that's how you can honor his legacy. Study deeply what he did.
Okay, Garrett, I want to hold you over. I want to touch on this commentary in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. America's campus left is hateful to its core. It's written by John Ellis. So I want to just comment on that really quickly and then maybe turn to Navarro. I just got his book. And we'll be right back. This is the real story.
One.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Jeanne.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this fall. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Don't wait. The cold temperatures are coming, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this fall special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater expert. parts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive fall special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Your child is 18, and suddenly you no longer have legal access to their medical info, even in an emergency. No health decisions, no financial help, nothing, unless you plan ahead. That's why Trust and Will created the Young Adult Plan. It includes HIPAA authorization, healthcare directives, and power of attorney. Everything your child needs to stay protected and stay connected. Go to trustandwill.com and get your Young Adult Plan for just $69. Because turning 18 shouldn't mean cutting parents out of the picture. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Ooh, Trust and Will.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right, let's just get right to it. We still have Garrett Ziegler on the line. Of course, he is the one who put together the report on the Biden laptop, which is an expose of everything that was on Hunter Biden's laptop, annotated, footnoted, everything. Of course, he got sued over that, and maybe another time we'll get an update on that lawsuit if he's going to get his money back ever. But we're turning to something that's actually really, really important, and that's like, where do we go from here? John Ellis, writing America's Campus Left is Hateful to Its Core, says, in the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it's often said that people with differing political opinions must learn to disagree respectfully with one another. A sensible admonition, except that it doesn't begin to get at what political hatred on college campuses is about or what it's doing to us. If all that was involved were doctrinal political differences, say free markets as opposed to central planning, it might be enough to say that the two sides of that argument could learn to be more tolerant of each other. But the politics that dominates at college campuses is a different kind of beast, he writes. It begins not with traditional issues of governance, but instead by pitting different groups of people against each other. It starts off by identifying a group of people as who are wronged and another who are the wrongdoers, the oppressed versus the oppressors. The former group are innocent and praiseworthy. The latter are evil and wrong. And I think he's entirely correct in this assessment. It is not about whether or not I should pay for somebody else's student loan debt. It is much more deeper than that. There is the oppressed and the oppressors. And if you have student loan debt, then you are oppressed. It had nothing to do with anybody else. And if I'm saying I don't want to pay it back, then I'm an oppressor. And that's where it's going to. And we have lost it in this country when it comes to sensibilities about this and college campuses and professors doing the right thing, which is informing people of the truth. There is no truth.
Yes, and
that's my rant.
I had a rant for the first segment. I appreciate you letting me go on that. So this goes to the core foundation of what people call debate. They, over the past 10 plus days since Charlie was assassinated, they keep saying, rightly, I might add, that he was obsessed with debate and he debated respectfully, and that he was very earnest in his debating. This is obviously true if anybody listens to any amount of footage, and there's hours of footage, and I hope somebody is transcribing all of that hours of footage. That would be a good service to his widow. It's hard to even say those words, and then to the public at large. But having a debate presupposes that there is a destination called truth. If your interlocutor does not believe that, there is no debating, because then it's just a will to power. Then it's like we're living in this warped Marxist Nietzschean hellscape where the only goal is to rig the system in order to have permanent political power. And that's what they do with the illegals. That's what Pritzker's doing right now, trying to harbor illegals. And he's getting, very triggered that something might be done with the illegals in the Chicagoland area because they are so numerous. But, and I think Charlie would admit this, that if your interlocutor does not posit that there is truth and the truth is knowable through our reason, then there cannot be a debate. And what I mean by that is the only hope for that person is the Holy Spirit. On this side of heaven, I am Charlie and everybody else and all the people of goodwill who believe in the American Constitution. They have to start there. And so I love presuppositional apologetics. I think Charlie was very interested in Christian apologetics. Mm-hmm. Anytime you do apologetics, the interlocutor has to grant you that there is such a thing as truth. So many of these knuckleheads on campus who are, even younger than me, 21, who don't know a thing, who, we've forgotten more than they do, they won't admit that there is truth. If there is no such thing as truth, everything is a will to power. And there is no rational political discourse. If you go look at the transcripts of the Lincoln-Douglas debate, I agree with some things that both men said, but you cannot state that Lincoln or Douglas didn't believe in truth. And so that has to be in the conversation. I haven't heard that much in the wonderful tributes that I've heard of Charlie, and I'm going to try to bring that to the forefront. We are facing a malignant tumor known as Marxism. The people celebrating his murder, the people who cannot be bothered to even offer their condolences. Of course, nobody's forcing anybody to mourn, but the people who believe that, most of them do not believe in truth. And so the only plausible path forward for us, you talked about a path forward, is to crush them in the political process. Because if somebody doesn't believe in truth, there is no common political project. There cannot be, by definition.
Well, but it goes, we're talking philosophically, what truth is in terms of, we're talking biologically in terms of what truth is.
Yes,
we're talking
exactly.
scientifically in what terms of truth is. We're talking about green energy scams, which I find that there's a lot of untruth on those. Or anything for how about the truth about tariffs? Well, some of that stuff you can fiddle with, you can experiment with, you can see how it maps out over time.
Yeah, those are different. Those are the higher order arguments that I love having.
Yes, but like John Ellis, back to the ending comment he makes, he says assassinations are made more likely by the politics of hate that has been slowly spreading from college campuses to national culture. How much longer can we tolerate a system of higher education that is poisoning America? When will we take our campuses back from the destructive radicals who now control this? And they've been controlling them ever since, Weather Underground and Bill Ayers, who ended up retiring from the University of Illinois at Chicago. We have another terrorist that's at the University of Illinois as well, James Kilgore. He participated in a murder, hid out for 26 years. And then now he's on the college campus. These are the radicals that are on the college campuses. And kids are not taught philosophy. They're not taught our history. They're not taught the Constitution. We need an entire civics education beginning, in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what in the state is ever encroaching into the realm of the home. We had a sign we had you know how moms do. They always have like decor and stuff. It's part of the pleasantries of moms. And my mom always had one that said, home is the first school, parents are the first teachers. And the state is trying to encroach in that now.
Yep.
So,
hey, Garrett, that's the music. That's the music. I didn't have time for the Navarro book. I'll have you back on. Let's discuss his latest book. I just picked it up. I went to prison, so you won't have to. I've got it. But we'll be right back. We're going to talk with Stephen Mosher. He's a China expert. Don't turn the dial. Thanks a lot, Garrett.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
A nation remembers Charlie Kirk. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. Friends and family honoring Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk today in Arizona. President Trump spoke at the memorial where he declared Kirk has become a legend.
I know I speak for everyone here today when I say that none of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history.
Kirk's widow, Erica, says despite the chaos and the pain during the shooting, she knows that Charlie was at peace when he passed.
The faintest smile. And that told me something important. It revealed to me a great mercy from God in this tragedy. When I saw that, it told me Charlie didn't suffer.
The man accused of killing Kirk, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, is being held without bail on charges of murder and other crimes. In other news, a mass shooting in Indianapolis today leaves 2 dead and 5 injured. Police say that it happened in a parking lot this morning on the northwest side of the city. They have at least one person of interest in custody, and police are asking that anyone with information on the shooting to please come forward. We now have a second hurricane in the Atlantic, Gabrielle, turning into that storm this day. It is about 300 miles southeast of Bermuda. The National Hurricane Center says it has the potential to strengthen into a major hurricane over the next couple of days and is urging people in Bermuda to watch its development. The storm now winds about 75 miles an hour, and that's just above the threshold for a hurricane. America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Tonight, expect mostly cloudy skies with a few showers and a low of 66. Moving into Monday, there may be a shower in some areas early on, but overall anticipate a mix of sunshine and clouds with a high of 77. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
The American military brings together brave men and women from across the country who have chosen to answer the call when their country needs them most. At aviatorfuel.com, we know the military because we live the military life. With books written by a Navy pilot and run by a hardworking military spouse, aviatorfuel.com is proud of our service and our country. That's why we never compromise on authenticity. Our cocktail books are modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. But instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito. From classic recipes to military specials like the Queen of Battle or the Afterburner, our cocktail books have something special for every veteran. So go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
You're great at protecting your data, but lots of places could still expose you to identity theft. If that happens, LifeLock gives you the U.S.-based restoration agent who will stick by your side from start to finish. Phone calls, filing documentation, preparing insurance claims. Your agent handles it all. In fact, they're so confident restoration is guaranteed or your money back. It's nice to have an expert like that on your side. Save up to 40% off your first year with promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight. And this is our second hour, and I've got a full hour for you, just like I did the hour before that. I want to start with this, though. We have a fundraiser coming up. I think my listeners are well aware of the fact that I have been on the side of the concerned citizens of Manteno as they fight in court to get rid of Goshen, a CCP-affiliated plant that does EV manufacturing. There's a number of reasons to not like the Goshen plant deal. One, it's $500 million to them, subsidized by the state taxpayers, something that Illinois taxpayers cannot afford and should not have to subsidize. Meanwhile, all sorts of other manufacturings are completely left out of these types of generous benefits. Pritzker gave them $125 million up front, cut them a check 4 months after the deal was signed. That money they used to buy their plant, to expand and buy hundreds of acres of farmland around that plant as well. And so we basically gave them their seed money to get going. It's disgusting on all levels. So one, corporate crony subsidies, bad idea. Number two, they're building something in the green energy sector that, by the way, you know what? If the market works, the market works. But I don't want to subsidize green energy, especially EV batteries, for grid scale use on solar fields. This is nonsense. They cost 10 times more than the amount of the actual production for the energy coming off of the solar fields. This is absolute insanity. And by the way, there's a bill that was just filed 10 days ago, and that bill does exactly what we shouldn't be doing in the state of Illinois, which is doubling down on more green energy subsidies for this very EV battery plant. And number three, and probably really most important to me, is that we are essentially funding our adversary. Goshen is under congressional investigation right now. And so why are we doing this? Our number one adversary, everybody knows that Goshen Incorporated is CCP affiliated, and they are bad actors when it comes to human rights abuses. They're terrible terrible about this. And so we have this fundraiser October 28th. You can buy the tickets at breakthrough-ideas.com. All the proceeds go to help the lawsuit, to pay for the lawsuit against Goshen that the concerned citizens of Manteno, out of the goodness of their hearts, started this lawsuit. They've raised a big chunk of their own money, but they need our assistance. They really need our assistance. So I need you guys to go there, buy tickets. Gordon Chang is our author, speaker, and our expert on the Chinese Communist Party's threat to America. So he'll be talking as well at that event. And by the way, Gordon's doing it for free. He wants these people to be successful, and he wants all the money to go to them. God bless him. So, but you know what? I'm happy. My next guest is Stephen Mosher. I was privileged to hear him speak at the Catholic Citizens of Illinois dinner earlier this week, and I really wanted him on my show before, but could not get him on until today because of a number of other issues. But he's internationally recognized authority on China and population issues. He's an acclaimed author and speaker. He's worked tirelessly since 1979 to fight coercive population control programs, and he's helped hundreds of thousands of women and families worldwide over the year. In 1979, this is very interesting, he was the first American social scientist to visit mainland China. He was invited there by the Chinese government, where he had access to government documents and actually witnessed women being forced to have abortions under the new one-child policy. He was a pro-choice atheist at the time, but witnessing these traumatic abortions led him to reconsider his convictions and to eventually become a practicing pro-life Roman Catholic. He's appeared numerous times before Congress. Obviously, he's been on TV, all the big shows as well. And he joins me now to basically, people need to understand, we should not be doing business with anybody affiliated with the CCP. And that's exactly what's happening in the Goshen deal. And I wanted him to just really discuss that in a little bit more detail about what's going on with human rights abuses in China. So, Dr. Mosher, thanks so much for joining me on The Real Story tonight.
Be with you here, Jeanne.
So why don't you just start with, like, who is Xi Jinping and what type of leader is he? What should we know about him?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. I think most of our listeners understand already that when we talk about China, when we say China's doing this and China's doing that, we're always referring to the Chinese Communist Party, yes, which is the biggest killing machine in human history. The Chinese Communist Party has killed 500 million Chinese. 500 million Chinese. How so? 100 million in famines and purges and persecutions, another 400 million in the infamous one-child policy, where they were aborting and sterilizing tens of millions of women every year for almost 4 decades. So this is the biggest killing machine in human history, and its first and foremost victims have been the Chinese people themselves. And they're in control of everything in China. Xi Jinping models himself in all things on the founder of the Red Dynasty, Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong was an atheist. He did not believe in God. Xi Jinping is cut from the same cloth. Mao Zedong believed that the Chinese Communist Party had 3 magic weapons. They are propaganda, united front tactics, where they move in and take over your companies and organizations and turn them to their own purpose. And finally, the People's Liberation Army, where if the first 2 don't succeed, they move in with military force. And Xi Jinping loves this. He often quotes Chairman Mao, 3 magic weapons. He often quotes Chairman Mao about lots and lots of things. So the regime in China was set on its present-day course by Chairman Mao. That course is still being followed today, and it is a course in which the Chinese Communist Party, the largest political organization on the planet with 95 million members, wants to dominate not just China, not just Asia. It wants to dominate the world. And that necessarily means taking down our own country, the United States of America, because truth be told, we're the only thing standing in the way of Chinese global domination. And if we fall, the world falls with us.
Well, that's reason enough that we should not be working with Goshen or any other CCP-affiliated company. But, talk to me a little bit more about religious rights in China, exploitation of the workers, and specifically the incarceration of Jimmy Lai.
Well, Jimmy Lai is the greatest dissident in China today. He's been in prison in Hong Kong for the last few years. Jimmy Lai was a very, very successful businessman in Hong Kong for many decades. And then something happened in 1997. Hong Kong was given back by the British to China, which means it was given back to the Chinese Communist Party. And Jimmy Lai began to be one of very few who spoke out against the increasing communist control of this once great city. And, 27, 28 years later down the road, because we're now in 2025, we can see in real time the destruction of the greatest city in Chinese history, Hong Kong, is happening in real time. And the incarceration and gradual killing of Jimmy Lai is also happening in real time. He's elderly, he's diabetic. They're taking him in shackles, hand and foot shackles, heavy chains, to the court every day. And they've been doing it for year after year after year. The process is the punishment. His son, Sebastian, is very afraid that his father's going to die in prison. And I'm very afraid of someone who's followed human rights in China for decades, and, of course, the lack of human rights in China for decades. I'm very much afraid that that is exactly what the Chinese Communist Party intends to be Jimmy Lai's fate. He's a convert to Christianity. He's a convert to Catholicism. Many years ago, he married a woman whose family is from China, and they have been Christians, Catholics, for generations, for a couple hundred years. And he decided in 1997, 1998, when he was about to take on the communist monolith and criticize them and start magazines and organize demonstrations, that he needed spiritual support. And he turned to God, which is exactly where you get it. So he's a great man. He is suffering greatly now, and we need to do all we can to encourage the Trump administration to twist arms in China until he's released. He's a British citizen, by the way. The British ought to be doing a lot more to get him out as well.
Absolutely great. I mean, we got Brittany Griner out because she apparently had a drug possession in the rush, and we can't help this guy. It's just insane. So you spoke quite a bit at the Catholic dinner about the collapsing economy and the collapsing population of China. And is that something that should give us pause for hope that there's going to have to be some sort of uprising by the people, or is it cause for, I guess, fear that China's going to get even more radical?
Well, I think there's cause for both in the coming collapse of China. And I say collapse. I watched the demographic collapse in real time. I was in China when they began forcing women who were 9 months pregnant to undergo abortions, cesarean section abortions, and their babies killed at birth in some cases. And that happened for decades. And what it has resulted in is a population in China that is aging and dying. So it turns out that killing off 400 million of your most productive, enterprising, hardworking people is not a good idea if you want your country to have a future. But that's exactly what the Chinese Communist Party has done. It has killed off half of the last two generations. So the first millstone that the communists have put around China's neck is the killing off of a large portion of the population. So the population is now aging and dying. By dying, I mean filling more coffins than cradles each year. For the last few years, there have been more people buried than born in China today. China is no longer the world's most populous country. It was for 2,000 years. Now it is no longer. Why? Because the Chinese Communist Party has killed off China's future in the person of 400 million young Chinese. The other thing that the Chinese Communist Party has done is is overbuilt. It has now in China 70 million empty apartments. They have ghost cities in China where no one lives. They have ghost shopping centers where no one shops because the stores that were supposed to open never open. In part, that's because they killed off the young couples who would have bought those apartment buildings and shopped in those shopping centers in the one-child policy. And part of it is simply corruption. The Chinese Communist Party steals everything. It produces nothing. The 95 million members of the Chinese Communist Party probably consume about a third of the wealth of all of China in corruption and in their banquets and their foreign travel and their junkets and their resorts and all of the other things, while the Chinese people work to survive. And what often happens in China is that a communist official in a local town will go to a neighboring village and tear it down, steal the land, and then on that village ground, now devastated, will build with the help of a local construction company and a loan from the local People's Bank a high-rise apartment building. And then he will say to the people of the village whose homes have been destroyed, now you have no choice but to live in my apartment building and pay me rent. Well, everybody profits from that, right? The bank manager profits. He's corrupt. The party official profits. The construction company, who's also a party member, profits. And the villagers in China suffer. That's happened over and over and over again in China. It still happens today. And finally, of course, we now have in office someone who understands the China threat, who wrote back in 1999 that China cheats on trade. And this time around has gotten very serious with putting tariffs on Chinese goods. And people need to realize the only part of the Chinese economy that actually works according to market principles is the export sector. They have no domestic consumption. No one in China right now is spending money. They're hanging on to their savings because they see things collapsing around them. So the export sector of the economy is what the total economy hinges on. And now that export sector is collapsing as well. Millions of workers are out of work. Factories are closing. Why? Because of Trump's tariffs. And because also Trump has said to Vietnam and Cambodia and other countries, you can't take in goods from China and then relabel them and ship them to the United States and pretend they come from Vietnam or Cambodia, because we won't allow that. We will punish you. So China has not been able to cheat in that way either. So those three things taken together, the trade war, the demographic collapse, and the tremendous misallocation of resources, all of these empty apartment buildings in cities, money, billions and billions of dollars invested in things that are white elephants that have no purpose.
Well, honestly, I could interview you for 2 hours and never be bored at all and learn something every time, but I don't have that much time left. So last question is kind of what's your prediction here about whether or not they go to invade Taiwan, or whether or not they can come up with some trade deal that sort of saves their economy. What is your prediction about what in the next 2 years? What happens in China?
In the next 2 years, China's economy continues to collapse. I believe that President Trump, and I met him for the first time in 2016, he hasn't changed his mind. He understands that China is the paramount threat to the United States. He knows he has China on the ropes, and he's going to continue with the pressure on China. And as far as the invasion of Taiwan, the current leader of China wants to follow in the footsteps of Deng Xiaoping and Mao Zedong and take back what they call that renegade province. Xi Jinping has said we're going to take it back by 2027. China right now is preparing an amphibious landing force to do exactly that. Taiwan, on the other hand, has gotten serious about its defense. It's now spending more than most NATO countries in building up its military. And, China will have to cross a 100-mile wide stretch of ocean in order to get to Taiwan. That's a pretty wide moat. So if we help Taiwan arm itself, I think that Taiwan can withstand any invasion. Most of the Taiwanese who have gotten used to enjoying freedom of speech and freedom of association and free elections will take up arms and fight if China invades, and I think an invasion will fail if it's attempted.
Oh, there you go. Thank you so much for your information. Dr. Stephen Mosher, thanks for joining me on The Real Story. We really appreciate you, putting an exclamation point on why we should not be doing business in the state of Illinois, which is bankrupt, by the way, with the CCP-affiliated Goshen. So I really appreciate your commentary tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back with The Real Story, and we'll take your calls, 312-642-5600.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150. Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donnelly Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donnelly Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donnelly does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
Guess who's watching Rob Finnerty on Newsmax? President Trump is. He even says Finnerty's show is so terrific. Millions are joining President Trump to watch Finnerty every night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. All this week, Rob looks at the media's war on President Trump. Rob gives you the facts about the National Guard in cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. He tells you the real truth about the Jeffrey Epstein files, and he reveals the big media's agenda on Trump's health. You need to watch Rob Finnerty on Newsmax. Check out your local cable system. Newsmax is on all major systems. Or download the free Newsmax app. It costs you nothing, and you can watch in minutes. Finnerty is the fastest growing primetime news show in America. Find out why even President Trump is tuning in. More than 40 million Americans go to Newsmax for news they can trust. Because we are real news for real people.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a phone call here. We've got Eduardo from Tampa Bay calling in. Eduardo, thanks for joining me on The Real Story.
Yeah, Jeanne, good evening. I wasn't going to call and just let you just talk to your guest for your 2-hour show, but I couldn't help but have somebody like David, who you might recognize as a Democrat troll. And
okay.
Yeah, well, you know,
he was a
the
little,
real fascism is, the real fascism is in Venezuela with Mr. Maduro, who will likely, maybe by the end of the year, depose. But, you know, let's take a city like Burlington, Vermont, which is home to Bernie Sanders. 200 businesses are complaining of the homelessness, substance abuse, and mental health. I wonder what Bernie Sanders is doing about that. You know, it's kind of like a town like San Francisco, where David is from. It's interesting to find out if Bernie cares about the homeland.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks a lot for cluing me in about David. I saw California. I'm like, I haven't had a caller from California. I was a little bit suspicious, and then he
there you go. Yeah, a blue state.
Yeah, he just went on for whatever. Got way off track there. I was trying to be polite. I'm not going to be polite next time. I'll just cut him off Prof does.
No.
Yeah, that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Have a good evening.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
you
you very
too.
much.
You have a great evening too. All right. Great. Well, if you didn't get my newsletter, please sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com. I this week did what I did, 4 examples of public officials looking foolish, and that's what I did. So example number 1, let's just run down these real quick. The D214 school board, which oversees Wheeling High School, is undecided about whether or not to honor Charlie Kirk as a distinguished graduate. 2 competing Change.org petitions were filed, one requesting that the school honor Charlie and another one, of course, opposing that. Now, last time I looked, because I signed on as wanting to honor Charlie, the one requesting Charlie be honored had about 1,000 more signatures than the other one. And unfortunately, they said they called Charlie Kirk, and the one opposing him, that he was deeply polarizing, exclusionary, and contrary to the values of inclusivity, academic integrity, and equity that our public schools must uphold. I mean, this is just nonsense. First of all, Charlie was, believe, the captain of the basketball team. He was an Eagle Scout. He had great grades. He was a great student. And then he built an organization that really likely will never be replicated in our time frame at all. And the D214 officials said, we're aware of the 2 change petitions related to Charlie's passing and actions D214 should or should not take. The district is in the process of updating its processes to apply for and assess the Distinguished Alumni Awards and has existing policies that detail how students can start new non-school sponsored co-curricular activities. We will follow those processes with these requests. I mean, it's all just a bunch of word salad. They don't want to do it. They're a bunch of cowards. They're cowards. I had 3 other examples. One I already talked about, which was Pritzker looking foolish, standing next to a guy wanted in 4 other states. And then days later, the guy murders him, and yet he's got Peacekeeper on a T-shirt next to Pritzker. It's just garbage. And then there's 2 more, and if I have time, I'll cover those in the next half hour. But we have the Watchdogs coming up after this break, and we'll try and get your calls into. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives. Don't turn the dial. Lots more to talk about.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill. From pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. State Farm Stadium in Arizona was packed as tributes were delivered for Charlie Kirk, his widow, Erica, looking back at the assassination.
There was no pain, there was no fear, no agony. One moment, Charlie was doing what he loved, arguing and debating on campus.
Erica says Charlie's assassination has sparked a revival of faith. The UN General Assembly meets in New York this week. President Trump will be speaking.
The hatred between Putin and Zelensky is very substantial. There's a lot of bad blood. And of course, Gaza's a basic disaster. We've got to get that taken care of.
Meanwhile, Australia, Canada, and the UK have announced they would recognize Palestinian statehood. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Reveille. The political assassination of Charlie Kirk is a wake-up call for Americans who care about our constitutional rights and common decency. Charlie debated the nuances and impact of public policy from a constitutional and biblical perspective, because those are the bedrock foundations of America. In doing so, he challenged the leftist view of the world, and he did so on turf they felt they owned, college campuses. The left's angry, fact-free vitriol has led their followers to protest any and all conservatives everywhere. And now we have the political assassination of Charlie. A recent Rasmussen Heartland Institute poll found that 40% of likely voters aged 18 to 39 said Americans who refuse to use others' preferred pronouns should face fines and legal penalties. 59% said they would support a proposal for a new constitutional amendment that would give the United Nations authority to oversee the Supreme Court and president. Key takeaways in a recent survey of 68,000 students from 257 colleges by the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression showed 1 in 3 students believe that using violence to stop campus speech is acceptable, and over 54% of students find it acceptable to block attendance at a campus speech. These are preposterous opinions in a free society. For years, our side and the reasonable middle have refused to respond immediately and effectively to the left's rhetoric. We aren't really into confrontational politics. We have better things to do than come up with the slogan of the week and protest on street corners. Most people can avoid engaging in political debate, so the left gets away with their ignorant comments, arrogant attitudes, and dismissive behavior towards conservatives who speak up. But not anymore. Speak up, or we will know no peace. I'm Jeanne Ives. Join me Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. on this station and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On Friday, November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
Don't miss Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn every Sunday from 11 to 12. Robert has a different way of looking at retirement from most financial advisors and is happy to share his ideas with you every week. So don't miss what he has to say. Destination Retirement with Robert Kuhn, Sunday mornings from 11 to 12 on AM 560 The Answer.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. And right now, AM 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty with their Generac. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
We now return to the real story. Here's your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right, you know what that music means. We've got the Watchdogs coming up. All right, let's see. Do we have them both? Yeah, I think they're both on, aren't they, with us? Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, sorry, just a little bit, I guess, disheveled at this point. I just got, they had the memorial service for Charlie Kirk tonight in Wheaton at the Pavilion. There was like 1,000 to 1,500 people that showed up. But of course, the whack job showed up as well. And I just received pictures from what was going on there. One guy, older gentleman, definitely older than me, at least it looks like it. He's wearing a green shirt and it says blank Trump. Begins with an F and ends with a K. Another guy holding a poster, I don't support what happened to Charlie, but Charlie supported what happened to Charlie. Sunglasses on at night, ball cap, wackadoodle, has some sort of cane with him. Next to him is a gentleman, mask on, black cap, honoring Charlie Kirk, honoring racism, bigotry, misogyny. That's what his sign says. And another, guy, probably millennial age, in a Palestine t-shirt. I mean, you just can't make it up. Yeah, and his sign, the guy in Palestine says, Awful. We made a huge mistake when we passed. Actually, I can't see all of his system. Something about kindness, hypocrisy, Charlie Kirk. Yep. So these guys are weird. Weirdos. All right, there you go. I mean, this is in Wheaton. These are the people that show up. Unbelievable. But I got another email from somebody who said, I was at the prayer gathering and was blown away by the turnout and all the prayers. May God bring revival to Wheaton and DuPage County and beyond. Okay, so mixed bag. Okay, let's get right to it, though, because you know what? I didn't have them on last week. We did the tribute to Charlie, and so we got a lot to catch up on. So who's first? Who's on first here, John or Kirk?
I can go first, Jeannie.
All right, John. John, first of all, I love it. You know, the watchdogs are really good. They give me a good idea about what they want to talk about and let me choose kind of. But here's John. John wanted to talk about the Dalton FOIA case. He wanted to talk about Oakwood, Illinois. He had a number of points under Milton Township. Or we could talk about the Champaign County Clerk. And I said, you pick. Go ahead. We'll see what we can get through in your time frame. What do you got, John?
So,
what do you want?
So first, almost 2 weeks ago, we got the order from a FOIA case in Dalton. This will be our third FOIA case that we won in Dalton, and this time we were awarded $40,000 plus in attorney fees and $10,000 civil penalties. The previous two, I think it was $5,000 civil penalty, and then before that it's $2,500. And the thing with civil penalties, they're really hard to get, and you have to prove that the village acted or the public body acted basically maliciously, knowing that they were violating the law and doing it on purpose in order to not provide the records. And the village essentially said, yeah, that's what we did. And there was no choice. It was all on the former mayor and the people that worked for her that just refused to provide, in this case, a lot of financial statements and other things.
So what are you up to? Was that $90,000, or did I from the Dalton that you're getting in FOIA fees?
Well, for attorney fees, yeah, I would say close to 90.
Wow. Already.
Just in attorney fees.
Yeah.
And the attorney fees don't go to us. They go to the attorneys.
So there you go. That's where your property tax money is going, Dalton residents, because you had a terrible mayor. And I know you worked your butt off to get her out of there. And thank God she is gone. But now we got to keep watchful. Okay.
And you get what you vote for, just like school board members. You get what you vote for.
Absolutely. Okay. What else? We have time for another one.
Well, we can talk about, let's talk about the Champaign County Clerk.
Okay, let's do that. Sounds good.
Public officials and some employees for public bodies in Illinois have to file an annual statement of economic interest. I think it's by May the 1st or May the 15th, somewhere around there. If they don't file it, then they incur a late fee for not filing it, and they have up until the end of May to file it once they're notified and pay the late fee. If they file it after the end of May, like June 1st or after, then they're required to pay a $100 per day fine for not paying it. So if you wait 10 days at June the 10th, that's $3,000 plus the late fee. But the clerk sent out an email with a spreadsheet of all the late filers and telling them, we're not charging you guys any late fees. But unfortunately,
well, was his late? I bet you his was late too.
The clerk doesn't have that authority to waive a late fee. It's built in the statute.
Well, he probably had a late fee he didn't want to pay.
Yeah, and from my understanding, nobody has been prosecuted, which they can be prosecuted and kicked out of office for failing to file. And as a matter of fact, I believe the clerk cannot even accept one unless the late fees are included in the filing after June 1st. So how they're taking these late statements of economic interest without the late fees is beyond me.
Well, we don't follow the laws, and then nobody, and because we only enforce the laws that the Democrats want enforced. And I mean, by the way, this is the Champaign County Clerk, isn't he? Carol Amon's state rep's husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So State Rep Carol Amon's, this is her husband, who I believe was a felon at one point.
Yeah,
I think he has a record of some sort.
He did, but it was all expunged.
Oh, it was expunged. Okay. All right. So now he's the county clerk, and he's, since he's broken the law before, apparently he doesn't feel like he needs to enforce it on others.
Yeah, the governor pardoned him.
Oh, the governor pardoned. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it might have been Quinn. I believe it was Quinn. Kirk would know. But they bypassed all the normal pardoning procedures and just pardoned him,
That's what happens when your wife's a state rep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And you're doing she's doing the bidding of the governor. So there you go. Oh my gosh, you can't make it up. Okay, John, we're going to take a short break here, and we'll move over to Kirk and hear from him. You okay with that? Good.
Yep.
Great to have you back on. All right. We'll be right back. This is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives.
Jenny McGuire is the fresh, bold, unapologetic voice of common sense, constitutional values, and conservative principles. With her sharp wit, she'll tackle the issues that matter most: faith, family, and freedom. Join her and featured guests each week on the Unsafe Space radio show, heard Saturday evening at 7 right here on AM 560 The Answer. And follow Jenny on Facebook at The Unsafe Space with Jenny McGuire.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Hut, hut! Listen up and listen up good. If you're tired of run-of-the-mill gifts, then get on over to aviatorfuel.com. You'll find unique military-style cocktail books and barware to go with it. At aviatorfuel.com, we've got the perfect gift for any soldier, sailor, Marine, or just red-blooded American. You'll especially love our military cocktail checklists, modeled off the real Army, Navy, and Marine pilot checklists that military aviators have used for decades. These award-winning books are authentic replicas, but instead of a procedure on how to handle an engine fire, you'll find the procedure for how to make a mojito, written with military jargon throughout. So pick up a cocktail checklist from aviatorfuel.com. Invite some old friends to share war stories over cocktails. Your perfect libation is inside the cocktail checklist. And don't forget matching military-themed barware. Go to aviatorfuel.com and get ready to raise a glass to the brave men and women who serve our country. That's aviatorfuel.com.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right. Welcome back. Joining us now is Kirk Allen, also a co-founder of the Edgar County Watchdogs. And Kirk, you wrote me a little note here. First of all, something about your website. Do you want to tell the listeners about what's going on with your website?
Well, it's interesting. As you grow, you end up having to have an IT person to play catch up. Apparently, we've got literally hundreds of thousands of files and stuff in the database that I guess is just overloaded. So they've spent almost a week on it trying to get everything back. It's back up and running now, but it got to the point where we couldn't even post an article. Things had slowed down so much because of all the data.
Wow.
And all it is public records, public information, for the world to see. So we are back up online and rocking and rolling. It hadn't slowed us down too much other than getting some articles posted.
Yes, it's important to have that history there so that you can go back and, remember what happened before and how you dealt with that issue already before. There's so many issues, you deal with them over and over and over again. They're the same thing. Yep.
And I will say, for those that have any interest in being a watchdog, you cannot do it from social media. You have to have your own dedicated website where everything is captured and you own it. You can't leave it up on Facebook. That is next to impossible to search. The first articles we wrote clear back before we were official organization, clear back in 2010, those articles are still there.
That's incredible. You're absolutely right about that. I mean, a website is there. I always say that my website's there for me so I can find my work and then point it out and push it out to social media. But it's generally for me. Okay, listen, you had a couple other things that you want to talk about. Let's talk about the illegal hiring of the attorney. Again, Shelby County, oh my gosh. And then we'll turn to another comment you had.
I think we could write a book on Shelby County. They've been through numerous court cases where even a recent court case, I believe it was last spring, where the judge was adamant county officials can't hire private attorneys. And they blocked the attempt at that time of a chairman trying to have even private representation. You can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. I don't know how many times that subject matter has been before the courts in Shelby County, and presto, their last county board meeting, the board voted to hire a private attorney to handle road use.
Whoopsies. Did something happen there? Oh, Kirk Allen dropped for a moment.
I think I can finish that until he gets back on.
Go ahead.
The board voted to hire a private attorney to handle road use agreements with, I believe, with dealing with wind farms and solar farms, so they could establish agreements between the companies that were doing all the construction. And the issue is that the state's attorney, if she's not qualified or she doesn't believe she's qualified to negotiate road use agreements, she has the authority to hire. The state's attorney has the authority to hire a private attorney, but the county board doesn't have the authority to hire one. Then that's the issue. And they should have known that from the last time they fought against the board chairman, the former board chairman, wanting to hire his own attorney. That was all laid out in the court documents at the time.
So he's hiring a private attorney for actual official work. Now, municipalities can do that. Is it just county boards that can't, or what's the law on that?
Correct, because and it's county boards. A lot of times the 911 or ETSB sheriffs. The state's attorney is the statutory legal representative of the county bodies.
Well, that would make sense. And also, the state's attorney has a workforce sitting there that's getting paid by the taxpayer. So why would he not use them?
Exactly, and everybody knows that there's specialties in every field.
Sure,
and nobody expects one attorney to be able to know everything. So the statute allows a state's attorney to hire somebody if they lack the expertise at the time.
Makes sense to me. And these guys just decided that they're not going to do that. Do they not like the state's attorney? Is there a feud between the county board and the state's attorney?
Oh
no, they love her. They think she's the best thing ever because they just all get along, kumbaya.
Okay, so I mean, seems like it's cut and dried. Hey, Kirk, one more thing though. You've said that there are some real nuts out there, and what do you mean by that?
Well, we've all witnessed what you just shared, some of what's going on in Winfield with these people that can't even respect a vigil for a person who's passed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally
In
been
Wheaton.
assassinated.
Mm-hmm. In Wheaton, yep.
Or I'm sorry, in Wheaton. And we've seen this for years. The level of hatred and anger and vitriol that people will throw at us when we just simply ask a unit of government to follow the law. That's all we're asking them to do. And all of a sudden, you would think we were Satan in that room. I can't fathom what these people are really thinking. It's literally identical to what we're seeing with this Charlie Kirk stuff going on. There are some true nuts out there. They won't sit and talk about the facts. And I heard a caller into one of the radio shows the other day, and he laid out, let's have a challenge to these nuts. Bring the videos or the proof to support that Charlie was a racist, Charlie was a homophobe, Charlie was all. Where's the video proof of any of this? All these people do is take snippets, and they do it with us too. They're masters at it. They'll take a snippet of what you said, spin it, twist it, throw it out there with a few lies, and never represent the context of what we actually said or what Charlie said. And these people need to be held accountable. It's time to call them out every time they do it, because they're not going to stop.
Well, and that's really that's what the Jimmy Kimmel issue was about. It was not that he doesn't have a right to say what he wants to say. It's that he said it on the FCC airwaves, which are public airwaves, and he said something that he knew intentionally was not true about who murdered Charlie Kirk. He knew that intentionally. That hypes up and causes other people to perhaps act in the same way as the shooter did, and when they don't know the truth. And the whole premise behind everything that happened there is the fact that the left didn't want to hear the truth from Charlie Kirk, and certainly this shooter didn't want to. And now you've got other people's perpetrating falsehoods. That has to stop. Now, whether or not the FCC should have been heavy-handed and got involved, I know Ted Cruz has been all over that issue, and I have not read or listened to his podcast on it. I certainly will. But I believe the premise was that you can't knowingly say such false things that could possibly incite violence.
Well, and another little thing that we're seeing going on, and I pray that it's changed. I looked an hour ago, but when you Google the death or the name of the gal, the representative in Minnesota that was assassinated, her and her husband, when you Google her name, above the search engine, it has her name and her year.
We got a break. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to finish that thought. I got a break. I'm so sorry. I'm over time. Okay, we'll check that out later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. We'll be right back.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Wow, I just hate having to break. But Kirk, I want you to stay on and finish up that story. So when you Google the woman who was shot in Minnesota, you Google her name, what comes up instead or above it?
It says assassinated and then the year she died, the year she was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
But for Charlie Kirk, it says died 2025. It doesn't say assassinated.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you. In fact, there's several people that have pushed that all over. When I saw it on social media, I searched it myself, and sure enough, it just says Charlie died. Yet
total manipulation.
Her profile.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what the New York Times said. They said that he died. Okay, I just want to remind people that the watchdogs that are going on the road will be in Orland Park this Thursday. Sign up at Breakthrough-Ideas. See John and Kirk in person. And we are going to talk about what's happening in the village, what's happening at that park district, and what's happening at the school district 135. Join the conversation with us. Sign up at breakthrough-ideas.com. We hope to see you there on this Thursday, September 25th. That's all I have for tonight. Thanks for joining me.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560. The Answer.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech